Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Welcome to our Saturday Gita Amritam Rasamalayam systematic study of Bhagavad Gita. Today we are indeed very honored and privileged to have a very special guest speaker amongst us, and he is none other than His Grace Mukund Datta Prabhu. Uh, Sripad Mukund Datta Prabhu does not need any introduction because he is such a wonderful stalwart devotee based out of Vrindavan Dham since last 40 years, almost more than 40 years actually. So he's the head pujari of Sri Krishna Balaram temple, ISKCON Vrindavan. And he was born in Switzerland in 1960 and then uh, was multi-talented right from childhood. He used to be a ardent soccer player also, apart from being a fan, and he was qualified for the national junior soccer team of Switzerland. But he gave up all that, materialistic aspirations. He had a job also in one of those top Swiss banks where most of the rich people from India hide their money. So, so he has worked in that bank also, and then something was lacking. He had a very good parental upbringing from his parents, very nice, staunch Christian parents, devotional parents. But something he felt was missing in the lifestyle. So he thought Atma Ki Khoj that brought him to, Bharat and most importantly in Vrindavan. And then automatically the quest was fulfilled, answered, and one by one, all is, you know, the attraction towards Krishna increased. And most importantly, from 1987 onwards, he's been holding a very top position. From 89, you can say virtually, or 92 onwards, he's the head pujari of Sri Krishna Balaram temple, 92. So you can imagine that is 34 years now. And like in corporate, we have retirement time. But here, Krishna decides. Krishna does not leave so easily, the devotees. And he's so committed. He has wonderfully groomed so many different devotees across the world. And our family has been one of the beneficiaries of his wonderful loving associations, especially since last almost 15 years. Year after year, he accepts our request to come and give us his association in Mumbai, and where we also combine his presence with the celebration of our deity anniversary. So we did a deity anniversary celebration uh, yesterday at one of the congregation facilities led by Sri Kirti Govind Prabhu in Thane. And today he has gracefully accepted to give us his live association through Bhagavad Gita transcendental knowledge that he will be sharing with us. And so we continue our studies 4.16 onwards till 23, but we will hear from such an elevated soul, the perspective of what Krishna is giving and how it can be connected in our day-to-day life. So, dear devotees, with this introduction, I would now request and hand over the session to him. So, next 1 hour, he will enlighten us with the complete Vedic wisdom of Bhagavad Gita. And then towards the end, whoever has got any questions, of course, the YouTube people may not be able to ask questions, but then Zoom, there are already I can see there are close to around 20 people, and more will join. So whoever wants to ask any question, feel free, and he will lovingly give answers to most of your questions. So with this, I hand over to Srila Mukundatta Prabhu. Over to you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yotavadakamaran Sri Gurun Vaishnavamsta Chirupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raganatan Vitantam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Chaitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakandritamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpade Gopesha Gavigaganta Radha Kanta Namastude Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Prashavano Sude Devi Pranamami Hari Priya Panchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyaiva cha Paritanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. So we'll speak a few words on the Bhagavad Gita, the 4th chapter, entitled Transcendental Knowledge. Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the original Supreme Personality of Godhead. Adipurush, Mulru, Swayam Bhagavan. Keep it slow. Huh? So, as explained in this chapter by Krishna himself, so to Arjuna, that he gave this transcendental knowledge to the sun god, and he gave it to his son, and he gave it to Manu. And Manu explained to his son Ikshvaku. So in this way, the disciplic succession has started. Of course, we know that originally he also spoke to Brahma, and also he spoke to Lord Shiva, and his expanded form, Narayan, spoke to Lakshmi Devi. So in this way, the transcendental knowledge has come in this material world by the grace of Krishna or Krishna's expansions. And so we are reading from slok number 16. Kim karma kim akarmeti kavayopyatra mohitaha tatte karma pravakshami yajkyatva moksha se subhat. So the translation, and of course in brief, we will say a few words also about Krishna Prabhupada's purport, and then we'll give some realizations also. See, when the intelligent are bewildered in determining what is action and what is inaction. Now I shall explain to you what action is, knowing which you shall be liberated from all misfortune. So, in this material world, the majority of the embodied beings, the human beings, they are in ignorance. And they do not exactly know what is to be done and what is not to be done in reality. Of course, many people, they think they know what they're doing, and they think what they're doing is right. That we can see, practically speaking. Even demoniac people or materialistic people, they think we are doing okay. And they have their understanding of life. But then some persons are there who are more intelligent, and they understand that actually we don't know what's going on in this world. Like even Sanatana Goswami, he was very intelligent, and he was learned, actually originally from a Brahmana family, but then he was obliged to work for the Muslim government or serve under the Nawab Hussain Shah, was the ruler of Bengal, but then he expressed also later on even that I do not know exactly what is my duty, what I should do, what is the purpose of life. So therefore here Krishna is explaining that even the intelligent are sometimes bewildered in determining what is action and what is inaction, what to do and what not to do. So therefore Krishna is explaining that I will speak to you, I will explain to you. And in this way you can become liberated. You can become free from ashubhat, what is inauspicious. Shubha. Shubha is auspicious, ashubha is inauspicious, ill fortune. So basically we have to hear from Krishna himself or his representative. So Arjuna is fortunate to hear from Krishna. He's his devotee, of course. And ultimately Krishna spoke this knowledge to us through Arjuna. So Prabhupada in the purport is explaining that Krishna consciousness has to be executed according to the previous acharyas, the bona fide devotees. So that has been explained also in the previous verse. So Prabhupada is mentioning that. So one has to approach a personality, a devotee, a representative of the Lord who is in the disciplic succession. And as explained just before, there are 4 disciplic successions, bona fide. And the Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya, to which we belong, and this is how we can say, of course, we respect all the acharyas, we respect all the sampradayas, but we are most fortunate to be in the Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya, because that is the first sampradaya. Krishna spoke to Lord Brahma, and later on other sampradayas came. And so Brahma, so he gave this knowledge to, of course, many personalities also. And also Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is not different from Radha and Krishna. He's also addressed as by Swayam Bhagavan. He similarly chose to appear in this sampradaya and give actually the highest knowledge and the highest understanding of the relationship of Sri Radha and Krishna in Braj, in Parakya Bhav. And not even Krishna himself gave this knowledge to Lord Brahma about the wonderful loving exchange of Krishna with his eternal associates. That Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu he has given, and then his associates, his followers have given that in their literatures, being requested by Krishna to do so, and it is available to us for our benefit, for our progressive march in spiritual life, in Krishna consciousness. So Krishna also in the same chapter is explaining to Arjuna that we should approach a spiritual master. Tadvidi panipatena pariprashna sevaya. Upatikshati te jnanam jnaninas tattvadarshinaha. And this purport, Srila Prabhupada is also mentioning one important verse from the Srimad Bhagavatam. Dharmam tu sakshat bhagavat pranitam. So dharma is established by the Lord himself, or then by his representatives. And so Srila Prabhupada has explained, so that one cannot ascertain the ways of a religion simply by imperfect experimental knowledge. So two paths are there, and the ascending and the descending. So by the ascending path, we cannot understand the absolute truth. By our own endeavor, trying to understand the absolute truth with our limited perception, or that is explained in the scriptures also. So direct experience may be there, or by interference or logical analysis of this material world. So we cannot understand the absolute truth. We cannot ascertain the absolute truth. But the absolute truth is understood by the descending process, by gaining knowledge from the representative of the Lord, the pure devotee, who is in disciplic succession. But the spiritual master is the representative of the Lord, empowered, and is in the disciplic succession, means he has gained his knowledge from his spiritual master, who has gained from his spiritual master. So that is known as Guru Parampara, disciplic succession. So we have to gain that knowledge in the disciplic succession. And we follow the path of the great personalities, Mahajana Yenagata Sapanta. And that has been explained in the same sixth canto, that the authorities are there. Like Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, Narada Muni, Manu, the father of mankind, the four Kumaras, Kapila Dev, Prahlad Maharaj, Bhishma Dev, Shukadev Goswami, Yamaraj, Janak and Bali Maharaj. So they are known as the Mahajans. So we should follow in their footsteps. And even more so, in our case, so we follow in the footsteps of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and specifically the six Goswamis. And even more specific, we are known as followers of Rupa Goswami, Rupanuga Vaishnavas, who was very dear to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stabitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Gadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam. Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam, Mano Abhishta, he understood the desire of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he established this in this world. And we know that Rupa Goswami is also in Krishna Lila there as a gopi, Rupa Manjari, very confidential associate of Radha and Krishna, specifically serving Srimati Radharani. So it is our good fortune to be in this sampradaya, and so we should take advantage by staying in the association, by being in the association of the devotees, the Gaudiya Vaishnavas, known as Gaudiya Vaishnavas. So the devotees were followers of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and then we can advance nicely in spiritual life, and especially by chanting the holy names, the Maha Mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama. And then we can advance and we can gain transcendental knowledge, and we will understand what to do and what not to do. And as in this verse, so we will understand what is action and what is inaction. So that is the only way. So by mental speculation, it is not possible. So we have to accept the descending path. So text number 17. Karmana hiyadbhi bodhavyam cha vikarmanaha akarmanasta bodhavyam gahana karmano gatihi. The intricacies of action are very hard to understand. Therefore, one should know properly what action is, what forbidden action is, and what inaction is. So, truly, it is not easy to understand the intricacies of action. But in the association of the advanced devotees, we may gain knowledge and we may get an understanding. And then we have to have the practical application, means we have to be engaged in devotional activities. And the various devotional activities, especially chanting the holy names and then worshipping the deities under the guidance of the spiritual master. But we have to keep also hearing from the spiritual master, and we have to hear about the pastimes of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Krishna. And then when we become absorbed, and then we can get purified in consciousness, and then we can understand what to do and what not to do, what is proper, what is improper. So Prabhupada has explained in this purport that if one is serious about liberation, then one has to understand between action, inaction, and authorized action. So as mentioned in this verse here also. Akarma, vikarma, and karma. So vikarma means forbidden work, akarma means inaction, and karma means action or work. So that is important. So that is explained in the scriptures, and the devotees of the Lord, the spiritual master, the representative of the Lord, he will tell us exactly what we should do and what we should not do. Actually, in the scriptures, the various scriptures are there, and so some instructions are there in the scriptures. And even if you see the Vedic literatures are there, and there in the Vedic literatures, sometimes you may see that activities are mentioned which may be performed, like for example, Karma Kanda section, Karma Kanda, what to do, and then and that is basically for those who want to live happy in this world, so they have some desire for sense gratification, then they will perform these activities, Karma Kanda, and they may live peacefully in this world to some extent. And so that is according to scriptures. So that is recommended. And but even more would be to keep Krishna in the center, at least to some extent, and then it becomes karma yoga. And yoga means to connect with the Lord. And it is important to have the proper understanding that we are not this body, we are spirit, soul, and that we have a relationship with the Supreme Lord, and we have to try to be engaged in that relationship with the Supreme Lord by practical service with the body, and then ultimately also with the consciousness. A conscious aspect has to be there, with proper understanding that we have to serve the Supreme Lord. So, but others, they may not have the full understanding of the absolute truth. And they may, for example, also worship the demigods in order to fulfill their material desires, and that is also mentioned in the scriptures and in the Vedic literatures. So that is, but that is permissible. That is, of course, recommended for the persons who have the eligibility to perform that adhikar, and who may not be able to understand more about the absolute truth and be more engaged in devotional service. So therefore, Krishna says to Arjuna that you should not discourage those who are engaged in this kind of activities. But we encourage them to be properly situated, and then later on, we may encourage them to be more engaged in devotional service. So that is karma, which is according to the Vedic literatures, and which has to be followed by the embodied being in a human form of life. If one is not abiding by the scriptures under the guidance of the spiritual master or the devotees, then there's every chance that one will do something wrong. And that is known as vikarma. And that is forbidden work. Of course, different kinds of activities may be there. Some activities should not be performed. But then there are different degrees of forbidden activities. Some may be actually not very serious, whereas some others are very serious. And these are known as sinful activities, pa, like eating meat that is sinful, and that should be, of course, avoided. That should never be taken. Although even sometimes you may see in the Vedic literatures even, or even in Ayurveda, that sometimes it is even permitted to take under certain circumstances. But it is for those who are actually too much attached to this sinful activity of eating meat, so that gradually they may be able to give it up. But actually it is, although it is mentioned in Vedic literatures, but it is actually not to be done. So that is actually vikarma, and that is actually sinful to eat meat. So whereas some other activities, they should also not be done, but they may not be so sinful. So we have to try to understand what has to be done and what should not be done. And for example, we know that early morning we should take bath, prahata snan. So that is a regulative principle to be followed by a human being. But we can see that everyone is following that, especially and nowadays in the big cities, even in India, also in the Western countries, many people, they do not take bath in the morning. And then also, for example, it is mentioned that we should take sanctified foodstuffs. But the ignorant person, they will not do that. Even for that, it is mentioned that, of course, there's a reaction for that. If one is eating foodstuffs by persons who are contaminated, then one will share in that also. One will have this consciousness. And especially if one is eating on Ekadashi Titi, which is 2 times in a month, it is mentioned that sin personified is residing in the grain. So if one is eating grains, not offered to the Lord, then one is eating sin. So therefore, that has to be avoided. But as a devotee, actually, we can see that in Jagannath Puri, the devotees of Jagannath, they will eat grains even on Ekadashi. And there's nothing wrong in that. Because it is the Lord's mercy, and when it is offered to the Lord, the grains, then Paparush will not be there. At the same time, because Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu instructed actually his mother, and then since that time, all the Gaudiya Vaishnavas, they are not eating any grains on Ekadashi. But otherwise, on normal days, so if one is eating grains without offering to Krishna, it is not sinful. And it is not a forbidden activity. It is normal. But it is not forbidden activity. We have to eat, that is normal. But they are not having sufficient knowledge to know that whatever we eat, we should first offer to the Lord, to Krishna, to Bhagavan. Some persons, they may be offering to Durga Devi, to Ganesh, to Lord Shiva, to Lord Brahma. And so that may be done also. These are great personalities, and that we have to understand. So, but ultimately we should offer to Krishna, and we should take Krishna Prasad. And then also here, akarma is mentioned. So akarma, so may be understood in two ways. One is not doing anything, that is akarma, as the word says. Inaction, not doing anything. At the same time, if one is engaged in devotional activities, that may also be seen as akarma. One is not, because one is not bound to one's activities, and there's no reaction to that. So if one is performing vikarma, forbidden activities, which is sinful, then there's a reaction which is not very pleasant. On the other hand, if one is doing activities which are not sinful, and they may not even be according to the scriptures. For example, somebody is working and in a shop and is selling something in his shop. So he's working, he's doing his karma. And if he has a cloth shop, there's nothing wrong with that. But he's doing these activities, earning money, but that will bind him also. He will stay in this material world. And then, for example, he may give some charity, so that is known as punya karma. So that is then beneficial for him. He will get some good result if he's giving some charity to some institution, opening a hospital. So there is some benefit for others, so that is auspicious, or that is, and then also for his benefit. So, but if one is engaged in devotional service, so in this way there's a kind of akarma is there, because one is not in this material world. If one is engaged in devotional service, that is transcendental activity. There's no reaction to this work. To devotional service, there's no material reaction, but there is transcendental benefit there, and there's a loving exchange with Krishna. So from the point of view of this material world, that may be seen as karma. And then some people, they are not doing anything. So they may be then lazy people. So that, of course, that is not good at all, because we are in this material world, and so one has to act. One is actually required to act, and otherwise one cannot even maintain the body. And so in that sense, that akarma is not recommended, not to do anything. That is obvious. Whereas devotional activities, that is recommended. So that is action and inaction. So one is acting, but acting in Krishna consciousness. And that is but on the material point of view, there is no action there. It is inaction. So that is action in inaction. So then even from the other point of view, that so there is action in inaction, and inaction in karma also. So again, for the devotee, so they engage in devotional service. So that is to be ultimately performed. And also if one is performing pious activities, so that is also recommended to do if one is not yet completely dedicated, and that is fine. So, but basically we should be under the direction of a devotee of the Lord. And then one is properly situated. And then one will understand what to do and what not to do. Because otherwise, as explained, intricacies of action are very hard to understand. And therefore, even karma is very hard to understand. What will be the result of one's activities? Even sometimes as a devotee, so we have to be careful, especially as householders. And we have to try to understand what is proper and what is not proper, what to do and what should not be done. And it's not always easy to understand. So therefore, we should be under the guidance of an experienced devotee as much as possible. So, of course, it is not always possible to be always under the guidance of a devotee, an advanced devotee, but we should have sufficient guidance. And nowadays, through WhatsApp, we can be connected. So that is a benefit. But still, at the same time, the Spirit Master may be busy and he cannot always answer all the disciples' questions. We have 60,000 devotees. So it is a challenge. So, and then he may be busy even if he doesn't have 60,000. So we may not always be able to have so much opportunity. But then we have to pray to the Lord, and then we have to read the scriptures. But we should try as much as possible be under guidance, and as much as possible we should have association of those who are more advanced. So that will be more helpful. Otherwise, then sometimes difficulties may come. Also for devotees. So what to speak of materialistic persons. And even though they may be materially speaking intelligent, but then they don't know exactly what to do and what not to do. So text number 18, karmanya karmaya pashed akarmani cha karmaya sabadiman manusheshu sayukta Krishna karma krit. So one who sees inaction, and action is in inaction is intelligent among men. And he is in the transcendental position, although engaged in all sorts of activities. So that is, of course, already discussed. So one who is in the transcendental position, so he will understand more clearly. By performing devotional service, one becomes more and more situated on the transcendental plane. And then with pure intelligence, one will understand what to do and what not to do. And so, as explained here, Sayukta Krishna Karma Krit. So he's engaged in so many activities. You can see the devotee, they are busy all day. But they are not affected by any reaction, or there's no material reaction to his activities, because Krishna is in the center. So that is the transcendental position. These are transcendental activities. And there's a transcendental loving exchange with Krishna, which is always positive. So there's no material reaction to his activities. But we have to be careful, because if you're not careful, then you may be under the modes of material nature, and then there will be a reaction also to one's activities. One is committing some aparat, some offense, then there will be reaction also. So we have to be careful. And ultimately, it is the mercy of the Lord if one is able to be transcendently situated. But as practicing devotee, we try our best, and we should try to be actually in the mode of goodness. And then it is easier to come to the transcendental stage. But then to remain on the transcendental position is not easy. And it is only possible for the advanced devotees to be always transcendently situated. So, but we should try to be in the mode of goodness and try to be engaged in the activities recommended by the spiritual master and the scriptures, and then we may come to the transcendental position, and then everything becomes more clear, what to do and what not to do. So till 23, huh?
Yes.
So text 19, Yasya sarve samaramba kama sankalpa varjitaha jnana agni dagta karmanam tamahu panditam buddha. One is understood to be in full knowledge, whose every endeavor is devoid of desire for sense gratification. He said by sages to be a worker for whom the reactions of work have been burned up by the fire of perfect knowledge. Mm. Mm. So one has to be devoid of desire for sense gratification. Then is in full knowledge, then is transcendently situated. So, but that is not easy. And that we can see as devotees also, and that, and if you speak to devotees, and you hear devotees also, who have been even in the movement for many, many years, and then practically you can see still some sense gratification is there. Practically you may see, and then you may understand the desire is still there for sense gratification. So to be completely free of the desire for sense gratification is not easy. It's difficult. But at least one should try. So sankalpa, so determination, resolve, sankalpa we do for performing different activities also. Sankalpa is there when we do a yajna. That so for the pleasure of the Lord, we're doing a yajna. And then, for example, even for Chaturmas, we take sankalpa. That's for 4 months we will not take spinach, any dahi, any milk, and urad dal, and so on, or some other vrat may be there. So resolute determination is there, that I will do that, or even I will not do that. So for example, I will chant more. I will chant some ashtakams. So strong determination has to be there. Samaramba, so attempt has to be there to give up. So to give up sense gratification, but even to give up the desire for sense gratification. So to give up sense gratification, that is one thing. And that is even much easier than to give up the desire for sense gratification. Like you see a rasgulla there, wow, rasgulla. It'd be nice to eat that. But then, when you have intelligence, well, now it's evening time, I should not take any sweets in the evening. Or actually, of course, the Brahmanas, they like sweets. But the Brahmanas are controlled also. And Prabhupada has mentioned in one place that the Brahmana is only eating once a day. Of course, it's not the hard and fast rule, but many Brahmanas, they only eat once a day. Prabhupada is mentioned in one purport. And so, therefore, usually I just eat once a day too. I mean grains, but morning, evening, something light. And because the Brahmanas, they are absorbed, they have to be absorbed in the absolute truth. And so for that, you have to be very balanced in your activities, and then especially in the eating. So better to eat less. In eating, better less than more. If you are young, it's better more. In the winter also, it's better to eat a little more. or if you have a cold, better eat a little more. But otherwise, it's better to eat less. So restricted, but no hard and fast rules. It depends on the body also. Some bodies, they need more. So, but basically, Brahmana will eat once a day, and so then, but the desire may still be there. So Rasgula is there. It would be nice to have the Rasgula, but okay, now it's evening time. Okay, next day we get the Rasgula. So desire is still there to eat Rasgula, and then maybe for the month of Kartik, okay, no sweet for 1 month. Did anyone ever do? Yeah, I do. Every Chaturmas, I don't take any sweet, except I eat some gur, because that is required for my body, also something little sweet. So, and but then, well, nice sweet, and I think, but no, I took the sankalpa, the vrat, not to eat any sweet now. And it's good to perform some austerity, some tapasya. And okay, then we don't take the sweet, but still the desire is there. And then Chaturmas is over. Oh, Rasgula. And eat the Rasgula. And it's okay. So we should be balanced also. But the thing is that Chaturmas is important because otherwise, because the desire for sense gratification is so strong that sometimes actually, even then we are engaged in sense gratification, even in the name of devotional service, and then of taking prasadam, it becomes sense enjoyment. But it is prasad seva, it is accepting prasadam to maintain the body and soul together. And so, not easy. Usually we eat and then sense gratification is there, but this is okay. But then to give up the desire for sense gratification, so that is not easy. So, to be completely detached and just eating to maintain the body. And so he said by sages to be a worker for whom the reactions of work have been burned up by the fire of perfect knowledge. So if one is engaged in devotional service, it's also without the desire for sense gratification. So that is full knowledge, that is. And then so the fire of perfect knowledge is burning. So the reactions of work. So otherwise so therefore we have to be careful also with the desires. That because you have the desire, the thinking, and then comes the feeling, and then the willing is there, and then you will do it. So therefore one has to be careful. But at least we try to give up desire for sense gratification, and we try to give up sense gratification as much as possible. But it is a gradual process, and there's some sense gratification, so can be allowed. But with Krishna in the center, Tyaktva karma pala sangam nitya tripto nirashraya karmanyapi pravitopi naiva kinchin karoti saha. Abandoning all attachment to results of his activities, ever satisfied and independent. He performs no fruitive action, although engaged in all kinds of undertaking. So he's very busy, a devotee, but he's not performing any fruitive action. So that is devotional service. So that is action in inaction. So here also the point is actually tyaktva karma parasangam. So he's abandoning all attachment to the result of his activities. So he's transcendently situated. So he's, of course, for example, we have to work and to maintain the body also. Of course, the brahmanas, they are doing seva, and then they will get some remuneration. Others, they may have to work, and then they will get some money, some result. And that has to be there. But one should not be overly attached. But if one is working, then one is supposed to get some result. But then we should try to not only use for our own self, but we should engage in the service of the Lord also, engage in the service of the devotees of the Lord. Otherwise, again, so one will be actually bound to some extent if one is using only for ourselves. Therefore, it is mentioned in the scriptures also. 1% of our earned money should be given to the Lord or to the Vaishnavas. And then one becomes free from a reaction to one's activity. That is important to know. So that is recommended in the scriptures. It is actually required. So, and then the intelligent devotee will do. So that we have to know. So therefore, if one is working as a devotee also, he cannot keep all the money which he's earning. Otherwise, he will be bound, because then becomes sense purification. So this subtle, always chanting Hare Krishna, is earning money and is using only for his house and for himself, then actually he's bound to be in this mood of enjoyment. Sense purification will be there. Therefore, we have to perform Chaturmas. Therefore, it is recommended to give charity, Dana, Yagya, Tapa, at different times. Therefore, different samskars are there, purificatory rites, and then one will give charity. So this way, because also where from is the money coming, that we have to see. So therefore, we have to see what work we are doing also, what occupation is there. And so then it will be purified if we offer to the Lord, to the Vaishnavas. Otherwise, we will be bound, even as a devotee. So the subtle things are there which we have to know. And of course, if we are surrendered to Krishna, Krishna will guide us. Also 21. Nirashiriyata chitatma tyakta sarva parigraha shariram kevalam karma kurvanapnati kilbisham. Such a man of understanding acts with mind and intelligence perfectly controlled, gives up all sense of proprietorship over his possessions, and acts only for the bare necessities of life. Thus working is not affected by sinful reactions. So it gives up the sense of proprietorship over his possession. Like, this is my house. These are my belongings. This is my wife. Of course. So at the same time, we have to also understand that if we have a house, that it is in our name, right? But then as a devotee, we have the Lord in the house. And in our consciousness, we know everything belongs to Krishna. And therefore the devotees, especially in Braj, you go to anybody's house. I have a nice house. It's not my house, it's Krishna's house. So, but still it is there in our name for practical reason. And so, but we should not be attached. So that is the point here. Give up all sense of proprietorship. So if one is married, You have to say, this is my wife. Right? You cannot walk together and, she's not my wife. Nothing belongs to me. And then somebody's coming, oh, really? Okay. No. But, so you have to say also, it's my wife. But you should not be overly attached. But some attachment has to be there. And to the children also. But not too much. And you should be more attached to Krishna than the wife. That we have to remember. But some attachment has to be there, but we should be more attached to Krishna than the wife. For the wife, so she has to be attached to Krishna, but also to the husband. And and that is more natural. But even there, the wife should be more attached to Krishna than the husband also. But it is there, of course. But then some attachment has to be there, mutual respect has to be there, and some attachment has to be there. Otherwise, how will be the relationship? If, okay, you're detached from the wife. So some attachment is all right, but it should not be too much. And Krishna has to be in the center. Then it is proper. Same with the house. So you have to take care of the house. If you're detached, you don't take care. But you have to take care of the house. So you have to be practical. And so therefore Prabhupada also said that acts only for the bare necessities of life. So we should work, but there's no need to work too hard and to make too much money. Prabhupada has mentioned that also. Because if you have a job, you have to work 8 hours, but you don't have to work more. So sometimes in India, then they push the people, but then but you should better to have a job. Maybe you can have half-time job. So you get enough money to maintain the family. And so the simple living, high thinking is, so bare necessities is there. Of course, different devotees are there, or different persons are there, and they have different understanding of simplicity also. And it depends on one's nature also. So one is more Brahminical, so he will live simple, but his environment will be pure also. But he doesn't need a big house. He may be satisfied with a smaller house. If one is more aristocratic person, like kingly person, then he will like a big house, and it is okay for him. So that we have to see. But the basic principle is simple living and high thinking. So in other words, yes, you have a nice house, but no need, especially if you're in Vrindavan, no need to have a big palace in Vrindavan. Text 22. Yadricha labha santushto dvandvatito vimatsaraha sama siddhava siddhaucha kritvapi na nibadyate. He was satisfied with gain which comes of its own accord, who is free from duality and does not envy, who is steady in both success and failure, is never entangled all the performing actions. So that is a person in mode of goodness. So he's not endeavoring so much to gain something. He's doing his duty, and whatever comes, so easily that he will accept. That is what it means here. It's which comes on its own accord. So, but of course, you have to have some activity, otherwise from nothing comes. If you're not working, a karma, another person, okay, why should work? And okay, let things come. It won't work. Of course, some sadhus are there, and they're also not endeavoring even to eat something, to get something to eat. Aischit Vrat, like even Madhavendra Puri, he didn't bother when to get something. He was just chanting in you, well, if I have to get something, I will get. And people were bringing, then fine, he's accepting something. If nothing comes, okay, he's fasting. So that is very high. But we have to have some endeavor, and then, but one should be not endeavoring too much and be satisfied with whatever comes. Who is free from duality? So duality of happiness and distress. And then, so we have to try to become free from that, free from the dualities of this world. And who is not envious, that is also very important. Vimatsaraha, free from envy. One should not be envious of others. We study both success and favor is never entangled, all the performing actions. So we should, which is of course also not easy always. One may be working and there's not much success. Then one may become actually discouraged. I'm working hard, but there's no success. But we should not be discouraged, and when we should continue on, and then some success may be coming also eventually. So if there is failure there, should not be discouraged, but one should continue, and that success will be there also. And so one should be equipoised. Okay, so it didn't work out what I wanted to do. Some loss may be there, but I should not be too much disturbed. And if one is successful, one should not be too much elated. Oh, I got so much money, that's good. But then you may lose it. And if you're too much elated, so you're happy you got it, but then you're losing, then you'll be devastated, you'll be unhappy. And so we should be steady, not attached to success and favor, or not disturbed by it. Gata sangasya muktasya jnana avastita chetasaha yagyat yagyaya charata karma samagram praviliyate. The work of a man who is unattached to the modes of material nature and who is fully situated in transcendental knowledge merges entirely into transcendence. So one is free from the modes of material nature. In transcendental knowledge means understanding his position as spirit soul, as servant of Krishna. Then so he's transcendentally situated, his activities are transcendental. So that state has to be attained. So that is our goal, to be transcendently situated, beyond the modes of material nature. And then automatically, so the knowledge is there. So full knowledge means knowing that Krishna is the Supreme Lord, and that we are not his body, we are spirit soul. And that is actually perfect knowledge. And that we have to be engaged in the devotional service of the Lord. And then, of course, there's Gyan and Vigyan. So we may have this knowledge, but then we have to try to realize also. So for that, we have to be constantly engaged in the spiritual activities. And then one becomes purified from all wanted things in the heart, from all anarthas, all impurities. And then, so anartha nivriti, freedom from impurities, unwanted things. And then comes nishta, so one is then in full knowledge, in nishta. And then one is transcendently situated. Of course, in nishta, still something is there, and some connection with this world. Some impurities may be there, but less. But then we have to advance further to and getting a taste for spiritual activities, and then being completely attached to Krishna, asakti, and detached from this material. But it takes time to come to that stage. But at least one should be fixed in knowledge, transcendently situated in nishta. So, and try to be free from the modes of material nature. So, it is not so easy, but we should try our best. And Krishna will do the rest. Hare Krishna. So we stop here. So of course, Bhagavad Gita and the purpose of very deep, and there's so much more to say, but we have limited time. We're already over time. But if anyone has any question, you may ask. Any question?
Is there any question on the Zoom? You can raise hand. And is there any question here also? Think about it. I mean, we still have time. Okay, there are some hands raised. Who is Real Me Narzo? Please identify your name.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam.
1 second. Yes, please speak up.
Prabhuji, can I ask my doubt?
Yeah, what's your name? I didn't get your name. It's mentioned as Real Me Narzo.
Prabhuji, my name is Madhurika.
Madhurika. Okay. I think you're joining for the first time our session.
No,
Bhagavad
Prabhuji,
Gita?
last time I had joined in your Bhagavad Gita session.
Acha, acha. Okay. So only request next time whenever you join, put your name so that we know who is joining.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay. What's your
Yes,
question?
Prabhuji. Prabhuji, I had the question that if, as Mukund Datta Prabhu said, that we should have some attachment with our family members and more attachment with Krishna. But Prabhuji, if we have to develop love for Krishna, should we have that some attachment with our family members?
Yes,
Good question.
Good question.
Your
Yes.
question is over. Shall I ask him to reply?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay.
Yes. Yes, good question. Yes. You see, actually, in reality, to become attached to Krishna is not easy. So you don't have to worry. You try to become attached to Krishna, but still your attachment will be there to this world. Even to your own body, you are attached. And therefore, automatically, some attachment will be there for the family member. And that is normal. But so therefore, you don't worry about the attachment to the family, but try to see that you can be attached to Krishna, more and more attached to Krishna. So I'm saying it is natural to have some attachment for the family members because it is there naturally. So the mother is there, even as a devotee, the child is there, and then automatically attachment will be there. And then you can take care of the child. Otherwise, actually, there's a danger that if you try to be too much attached to Krishna, not to the family, then you will neglect your seva. And even that we have seen in the beginning of our movement, the devotees sometimes were fanatical. And then they were serving Prabhupada, they were serving Krishna, going for book distribution, taking the child with themselves, and then distributing books, and then sometimes neglecting the children also. That we have heard and we have seen. So therefore, as householder, you have to take care of the family that is required. And you have to take care of the wife, the wife has to take care of the husband. If you are attached to Krishna, then, well, okay, I just serve Krishna, why should serve my husband? No, you have to serve your husband. And you have to have love for Krishna, and if you have true love for Krishna, you have love for everyone. So it is actually a very fine line. So in this way, when you're in the family, so a little attachment may be there. That is natural, and there's no harm in that. But you should be more attached to Krishna. Otherwise, if you're too detached, then what the exchange will be there with the family. So that is there. So therefore, little attachment is okay, but it should not be too much. But you have to be attached to Krishna. But anyhow, so the point is you don't worry too much, but try to develop your attachment for Krishna. That is fine. And at the same time, as a devotee, so because otherwise it may be selfish also. Because in the conditioned state, you are attached to this body. And sometimes, okay, I just serve Krishna. And then you're thinking about yourself also. And then you don't think of others. So that is not good. In the conditioned state, one is attached to the body. But then you have to be attached to Krishna, and you try to be attached to Krishna. And there's no harm if you are a little bit attached to the family members. And that is fine. And try to be detached yourself from sense gratification. Not that you need this and that, and then you think only of yourself. So there's a danger then if it is artificial. So like we have seen, the devotees, I have to serve Krishna, and then they're neglecting the children. But then it is to some point actually sense gratification also, or it is selfish, just taking care of myself. Aham mameti, I and mine. Even the devotee we see sometimes, I and mine, and then you cannot care for others. So therefore, we say that. So a Vaishnava is trying to be humble, tolerant, and is not only thinking of himself, I and my seva. No, others are there too. And we should try to help others. Sarva bhute hiterataha. Rather than just think about ourselves, I and my seva, I, my deity. Of course, again, there you have to have attachment for Krishna, for our deities, but at the same time, we should not neglect the family members. We should not neglect other devotees also. And so it is a very fine line, and so we have to be conscious of that, we should be attached to Krishna more than anything else, but little attachment to the family members is normal. Love has to be there for the family members, and that is natural. We love Krishna, but we love others also. We love everyone. At the same time, not that you love everyone and you forget about your family members. No. First of all, the first duty is to the family members more than anybody else. Sometimes that may be seen also. Somebody is taking care of other people and then is not taking care of the family. So that is also not good. So we have to be very thoughtful, and we have to, sometimes we need the guidance also of the devotees, so we know how to properly act and not be fanatic and then not properly situated actually. So it is a very fine line of Krishna consciousness, or even proper behavior, sadachar. And Prabhupada used to see first you become a gentleman and then you become a Vaishnava. So not so easy to be a Vaishnava and fully attached to Krishna and detached from this material world. So even you can see, so the Supreme Lord, and it is shown also in the pastimes, it seems to be that Krishna is attached to the gopis. Or of course that is the pastime. Or Ram is attached to Sita. But that is natural. There's transcendental attachment. So Krishna is to be in the center, and everything is for Krishna. But at the same time, some love and attachment, especially to family members, that is normal. So it is a very fine line, and we have to be conscious of that. Is that all right?
Is that clear?
Yes, Prabhuji, thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, I put in the chat box the mobile number. So if anybody wants to have regular updates about this weekly sessions, systematic study of Bhagavad Gita, then kindly give their mobile number and we'll add you in the group. And you can also invite your like-minded friends so that we can add in the group. Okay, so we don't want to miss an opportunity of anybody who's wanting to know more about Bhagavad Gita and how to follow it in a practical way on a day-to-day basis. So please feel free to send a message on this mobile number, and I will ensure that your number and name is added in the group. All right. Anybody has any other question or maybe one quick realization from this today's talk? Anybody wants to share? 2 minutes, not more than that. But it is a very important subject matter that Prabhuji has covered today. Okay, looks like there is no hand raised, so we will let it go. And so, if there are no further any questions from your side, okay, there is a question here in. You have a question? Yeah, you can ask the question, and I'll repeat it here so that they can also know what the question is.
So yes, so the
Okay,
question
one
is,
second. I'll just repeat the question.
yeah.
So the question is by one participant here live, Anushka, right? Your name is Anushka Purana, Anushka Shanbag. Sir, so her question is, as a devotee, how do we know what to do right? Is that the question? How to know what to do right? What is our dharma, and how do we know whether we are doing the right things or not to please Krishna? Is that what do we like? Okay. Okay. So as a human being, what should we do to maintain our body at the same time uh, devotional activity in terms of satisfying Krishna through our activities? Correct? Okay. So Prabhuji will answer that.
Mm. So we should be under the guidance of the devotees. Of course, if the parents are devotees, then they're there to guide. But if they're not fully devoted and one is engaged in devotional activities, then one should take guidance from, if one is not sure what one should do, which is many times there in life, one is not sure what one wants, what one should do, especially if one is not yet established, one is still young, and sometimes one may not know what to do and in order to maintain the body. So therefore it is good to take guidance from the devotees who are more experienced. And so what is the duty of, and of course one ashram is there and we have to be in one van and one ashram, and so that the spiritual master, he can help also the experienced devotee to determine what is best for us. Even actually we can see that, so the spiritual master will help and usually we'll understand. At the same time, even we may see according to Jyotish Shastra, according to astrology also, it will already be mentioned that it will be seen in astrology that according to one's psychophysical nature, what will be beneficial for us, and also according to our previous activities, what is in store for us. So we may know. Therefore, sometimes devotees go to astrologers to find out what is beneficial for me, for my living. At the same time, if you are surrendered to Krishna, then Krishna will make arrangement so you can do something which you like and which will give you some income so you can maintain yourself. So, but basically, usually we have, so the Vanashram is there, and then so one should be in one ashram and one should be in one varna. And for the ladies, usually it is recommended they should get married. And then the husband actually, he should work hard and maintain the family. But of course, he doesn't have to work so hard. He has to work this much, in as much as he can maintain the family, as explained here also. that most important is to perform spiritual activities, to be engaged in devotional service. That is most important. And but yes, at the same time we have to maintain our body. So some activity has to be there, and it is more the duty of the man to do that. The ladies, they're supposed to be under the care first of the father, and then the husband, and then when she's in old age, then the son should take care of a woman. That is according to the scriptures. But nowadays, due to the circumstances, it is expected practically all over the world that the women should work also, and they should earn money. But it is not according to the Shastra. So, but the women, they should usually take care of family. So the woman should know how to cook. You know how to cook? You can make rice, dal, sabji, chapati. You can make sweet rice. You can make samosas. No? Okay, you should learn how to make samosas. So the woman should be expert in cooking, and she should be able to take care of household duties. And if they have deities, she should know how to the sewing. And then even if the kurta is broken or the button of the kurta is broken, she has to fix it for the husband. So these things the woman should learn. That is the duty of a woman, to know how to cook, and then cook for the deities, cook for the family. But nowadays, in this age, the girls have to go to school like the boys, and then they have to be educated, and they may have to work till they get married. But then even sometimes, so they expect the woman to work also, but they should not work too much. That is actually not required, and is not recommended. But then you have to be practical, and so fine, then education is there, and then maybe, because ultimately there's a father's duty to take care of the daughter also, but then sometimes due to circumstances, maybe there's a need of money, and then the woman will work also to some extent. But it should not be too much, but a half-time job, but we have to see time, place, circumstances. And then if one is not exactly sure what to do, then one may ask the experienced Vaishnava, and he may help. But usually we have some liking, and it's better to do something which you like than do something which you don't like. That is obvious. And we should not be pushed to do something which we don't like. We should do what we like. That is just natural. And then you will be happy, otherwise you will not be happy. And then what is the use? So it is a practical thing, and so we may help if there's a need. So is that okay? Okay, fine. Any other question?
So, all right, Anushka. All right. Okay, there is one hand raised by our student here, Srinidhi. Yes, please go ahead, Srinidhi.
Sri Krishna Prabhuji, Dhanna Pranam, my obeisances to all devotees. There is a 3 points reflection, Prabhuji. Can we share?
Yes, so he also shared the reflection of today's class.
Fine, sure.
Yeah.
So, first point, actually today's class was really practical.
1 second, just 1 second. Now, will that be captured in the YouTube? Because I don't know. It'll be. Should we keep it somewhere? It will not be captured, I think. So that's being recorded, right? Right.
Yeah, we'll be okay.
Okay, go ahead.
Yes.
So, Prabhuji talked about karma, those activities which are pious activities, and we karma, they are not recommended in Shastras and they are sinful, and akarma, and it has two meanings like not working and being lazy, and another thing is by performing devotional service there is no reaction comes back, so that is another meaning. And the second point is we can understand like Prabhuji, he has so much attachment to his spiritual master that Prabhuji has started with glories of spiritual master by spiritual master is representative of Krishna. And again, Prabhuji ended the session with verse 23, describing that we will be situated in transcendental position only by under the guidance of spiritual master, like that. Another last point is we had heard one quote and it perfectly falls in this session, I think, Prabhuji, and that is by developing love for Krishna gradually under spiritual master's guidance, we will have affection for all without any attachment and will develop detachment without any disgust. So these
Very
are
good.
some points. Thank you very much.
Wonderful.
Hare Krishna.
Wonderful. Wonderful reflections about the class. Quite, you have been absorbed in this. That's why you are able to reproduce. Very nice. All right. Thank you. Then there are no questions here. There are no questions live here also. And YouTube people cannot ask questions. So, so if that is the case, we can end the session now. The quiz for the second successive session, there has been no quiz, but we are now going to miss the quiz in the future sessions. That's one of our attractions, and also a way to capture the audience. So next week, hopefully, we'll try to compile and make a concise quiz, which will cover Arjun Saka Prabhu's session, then Mukund Datta Prabhu's session, and whoever is the speaker in the next session, all the three, and we'll try to make 5 or 6 questions, which will be put forward for your consideration. All right. So with that, we end today's session. Thank you very much, dear devotees, for joining, and may you have a nice weekend, Krishna conscious weekend. May you all be charged with all the transcendental knowledge that has been shared today by His Grace Mukund Datta Prabhu, especially on how to serve Krishna, the attachment, so that we get detached from slowly from the material world. Don't tail your activities for the pleasure of the Lord. Okay. Thank you very much. I'm ending the session now. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Thank you very much.